Hi there, welcome again to What? And this is Series 14 and number 48. We're picking it up from where we left off last week, and this is verse number 9. And here we see that Isaac is going to willingly lay down on the altar. That spins me out. It says, then they came to the place which God told him, and Abraham built an altar there and placed wood in order, and he bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Wow. Get the phrasing there. They came to the place. So that they went to the place that was specific, that God said, Abraham's on top of this. He's done the right thing. He's even set everything up. It says Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood in order, and he bound Isaac. At this time, Abraham was more than 100 years old, and you would think that Isaac would have been able to escape his coming death had he chosen to. Yet, he submitted to his father. In remembering Abraham's faith, we should never forget Isaac's faith in this situation. Some Jewish commentators think Isaac was in probably about his 30s at the time of this event. The younger man, 25 through, Josephus thinks he was about 25, possibly 33 years of old. And if so, we see this very, very clear type of Christ, who was about the same age as Isaac and Jesus Christ. It says there he put Isaac upon the wood. As an obedient son, Isaac laid down on the wood, ready to be sacrificed. Think about that for a moment. Put yourself in that situation. Verse 10 goes on and says, and Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. So he said, here I am. And he said, do not lay your hand on the lad or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. So Abraham went, took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham called the place by the name, the Lord will provide. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. There's a heap of other things for us to pick up in here, but here's a couple of them. Abraham stretched out his hand and he took the knife. He was going to do it. We must believe Abraham was completely willing to plunge the knife into Isaac because his faith was in God's ability to do something out of the ordinary, perhaps raise him from the dead. Because of his faith in God's ability to raise Isaac, not in God's desire to have him do that, God stopped the sacrifice. Abraham didn't think this was a drama or a mere ceremony. Notice the obedience of this friend of God. It was not playing at giving up his son. It was really doing it. It was not talking about what he could do and would do, but perhaps, how do you put this? But his faith was practical. And let me say, his faith was heroic. One may say it's not fair or right that God told Abraham to do something like that and then told him not to do it. If God really wanted to test Abraham, he would have made him plunge the knife into his chest. I don't think so. I think this story is amazing, how God deals with testing of the faith. Yet God often takes the will of the deed of his people. When he finds them truly willing to make the sacrifice he demands, he often doesn't require it. This is how we can be martyrs without even dying for Christ, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. We live the life of a martyr right now. We give up stuff so that our relationship with God is vital. Often there are believers who wonder how they would know the will of God. We believe that 90% of the knowing the will of God consists of our willingness to do it before it's done. I'm not sure about that statement. Do not lay your hand on the lad, as God said, or do anything to him. With this, God emphatically showed Abram that he was not like the pagan gods worshipped by the Canaanites and the others around him, gods that demanded human sacrifice. And we're pleased about that, I tell you. God strongly and clearly demonstrate he didn't want a human sacrifice. But he did recognize when he said, you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. He recognized that Abram displayed his heart towards God in that he was willing to give his son. God displays his heart towards us in the same way by giving us Jesus, as is mentioned in John 3:16. When God asked Abraham for the ultimate demonstration of his love and commitment, he asked for Abram's son. When God the Father wanted to show us an ultimate demonstration of his love and commitment to us, he gave his son. We can say to the Lord, I know that you love me, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Bless you.